Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Trey Ball. We are looking ahead to the 2021 NBA season and breaking it down division by division. This episode, we're going to look at my favorite division of them all, the Southeast. Um, Obviously, my favorite team is the Miami Heat. Obviously, my favorite coach is Eric Spoelstra. My favorite front office features the great Pat Riley. Top to bottom, this is an A1 organization, but I'm not going to toot their own horn just yet. We're going to start with the Atlanta Hawks. Some of the key additions for them was the addition of Rajon Rondo, and I know they got Clint Capella last season, but it's all starting to come together even more with the way this team is forming. You still have Hunter, you have Herder, you have Cam Reddish. Hopefully, Cam has a better season. He had a rough rookie season, especially from a shooting perspective. But hopefully, he comes into his own. I think having Rajon Rondo being the vet leadership that they needed, I think that's going to help him and Trae Young ultimately. But continuing on, you have Collins back for a full year. Um, he battled some issues with the front office last year, missed quite a few games. We've seen him past couple years be that athletic forward. I think with Clint Capella there, you have a lineup of Clint Capella, Collins, and you add in Bogdanovich from the Sacramento Kings, which is a huge move. You add in Danilo Gallinari, which is a even bigger move for them. And then you still have Trae Young, you have Rondo, and then you get the deal done for Chris Dunn. So I think this is going to be exciting basketball for them. Trae Young is an electrifying point guard. We've seen big games from him. 30 point, 10 assists guy. I think he's going to be hovering around that mark a lot this year. I think he's going to be putting up some big numbers. But I think the big thing for him now is, can he lead a team to a playoffs? Because I think the excuses for them is running out with every passing day. Now you add in a vet like Rondo. Playoff Rondo is real. I don't know if anybody believes in playoff Pete, but you say playoff Rondo, that's a whole different animal. That's not the guy you want to see on the other side of the ball in the playoffs. And you add him to the lethal weapon that was Trae Young, Gallinari. He can be a 20 points a game guy. We've seen the performances he was putting on in OKC. I feel like wherever he's gone, he's been an effective scorer, whether it be New York, whether it be LA, OKC, Denver. He's always been an effective scorer. So I think bringing him in is very important, to have another guy that can get his own shot and hit wide open threes. And I think that's going to be a big part of their game, especially with having a lineup of Trae, Bogdanovich, Gallinari. I mean, there's going to be a lot of space on the floor to operate. So guys are going to be able to get to the basket. They're going to be able to hit wide open threes. They're going to hit the mid range, pick and roll with Capella and Trae Young, or pick and roll with Trae Young and Collins, and Rondo and Collins, and all these different possibilities that this team now has, from pretty much just three big splashes that went under the radar in the summer of free agency. So I think, just for me at least, I'd give them A plus in free agency. Can't say the same about the Orlando Magic. They pretty much look like they always have the past 3-4 years, minus DJ Augustine. But I think this might be a team that's looking to do a fire sale, kind of like the Oklahoma City Thunder did. I think Vucevic is going to be a high sought-after big. He can hit the outside shot. He can score from the post, left or right-hand hook, over each shoulder, fade away. He's a good rebounder, decent defender. I think he's going to be a hot topic on the market come the trade deadline. I think Aaron Gordon's going to be on the trade deadline. I think Aaron Gordon's going to be on the trade block, but I don't think he's really reached his full potential. I think his athleticism has been something that's carried him to this point in his career. But I think now the skill, we really need to see the skill from him to see where his trajectory really is, because a lot of people have no idea. He's improved his jump shooting a little bit, but I think he can be a go-to guy for a team like the Orlando Magic this year. But I think he can be somebody like a Tobias Harris. Ironically, they came from the same organization, playing the same position. But I think Tobias Harris I think Aaron Gordon can be a Tobias Harris type guy, a really good third option. I think it's going to be important to see his health as well, because a lot of those athletic bigs, they don't really stay healthy, especially at this point in their career. Their athleticism fades. You see guys like Blake and DeAndre Jordan as the poster children for the high fly act early in the career. What are you doing for me lately? Blake is still really skilled. He can hit the outside shot consistently now. He's a great passer. Better on the defensive end. He can still rebound pretty well. So he's a good player, but his skill developed. His skill developed behind his skill developed beyond the high flying act. So I think that's something Aaron Gordon is going to have to prove at this point in his career. Um, I think Terrence Ross is a good player off the bench. I think he also fits into that Jamal Crawford, Lou Will Barton, six men that can come off and give you a lot of offense, a lot of points, and very, very quickly. He does have a 50-point game, if I'm not mistaken. He holds the Toronto Raptors for most points scored in a game. And he's a great shooter too, which is very underrated. So if you're looking for a team, if you're looking at a team that needs more floor spacing and more points off the bench, fast and in a hurry, and that can play in an up tempo offense or space the floor in a slower tempo game, I think Terrence Ross is somebody you got to look at. But like I said, the Orlando Magic team is a team that needs to be sellers, not buyers at the trade deadline. I think they could just stockpile draft assets and see, how things shake out. You can't win every single front office chess match, but you got to start, playing the game with a more sense of urgency if you're gonna get back into the playoff fold like you were in the late 2000s and the early 2010s. I think the Hornets, this is the first time I got to say that, but it might be exciting to watch a Michael Jordan owned franchise develop and grow with these young guys. I mean, they bring in Terry Rozier from Boston. You have Devontae Graham. You have Miles Bridges, a very, very underrated player, very underrated young guy. He's more than just a dunker. He has a very good outside shot and mid-range game, but also you draft LaMelo Ball, and I think you have a good young nucleus right there off the bat. Obviously, you still have question marks on what were you thinking when you gave Gordon Hayward a max deal, but I think that's what we've been saying about Gordon Hayward since he got into Boston. I feel like it's not really his fault. I think the injury took a lot out of him. The first one did, and it's just mentally he hasn't been able to fully recover, no matter what his body is doing at this point. But when he's on the floor, he does provide floor spacing. I think the young guys on that team might, be just what's he. The young guys on the team might just be what he needs to continuously stay positive. Because I mean, young guys in the locker room, they're not too serious. They joke around, they mess around, they make jokes here and there, stuff like that. I mean, that it might be just a good thing for his spirits alone to be around that and be a good vet. So I think they have certain pieces. They have certain pieces that's going to make you tune in. Not to forget about Malik Monk at all as well, and the young guys group. They have a lot of young talent that you could possibly keep a lookout for. They're going to play a very up and down tempo, I would hope, especially with LaMelo and Graham, handling the ball. Graham made a big leap last year. I think he should have been in the most improved player conversation, putting up 18 points a game from 4 points and then averaging around seven something assists. I mean, nobody's seen that coming, and obviously nobody really paid attention to it because I don't even think he was a finalist for the award. So I think it's going to be important to keep an eye on him and Ball and how that chemistry develops, because them being able to feed off each other and their styles of play, I think, is going to be good basketball to watch from them. But from one really, really young backcourt to a scary, scary backcourt in the East, especially in this division in Washington. My goodness, Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, two guys that, I mean, I don't even know if it's possible, but they flew under the radar. Russell Westbrook having the most efficient year of his career. I mean, I'm not really looking at the turnovers because they're always going to be there because of high usage rate that he has. But when you're looking at Russell Westbrook, when you're looking at Westbrook having 27 points, 7 assists, and almost 8 rebounds a night, and putting up 47% a game, that is an it's just an incredible season for him to continuously improve in that area, in that aspect of his game, year in and year out. When the knock against him is his efficiency, his high usage, his shooting. I mean, granted, he can't hit a three to save his life, but to shoot 47% from the field while putting up 27, 7, and 7 and be the second best player. I'm not going to dive into the whole Houston thing, but I think that's excellent from your second best player, and that should put you in a championship conversation. So you add that with Bradley Beal, who's been putting up 35 and 5 the past couple of years. I mean, last year was 35 and 5. I think the year before was like 25, 26, something like that. But still, Bradley Beal's an elite scorer from the ring position, and I think he doesn't get a lot of love at that shooting guard position because we're so focused on guys like Paul George and James Harden, and then Klay Thompson has had a hold on the shooting guard position as well. I mean, there's a lot of talented shooting guards, and Bradley Beal sometimes gets lost in the shuffle. I think having Westbrook there beside him now, because I mean, Houston, they've always been a pretty decent team, but they've always had John Wall and Bradley Beal. Last year they didn't have Wall, so we've seen the ups and downs of that organization pretty much following along with John Wall's injury history. So now that they have a healthy Westbrook, now that they have a healthy Bradley Beal, you add in Hachimura is still developing and growing. Bertans can hit the outside shot. I seen the other night Bryant was hitting some outside shots from the five position, and the speed that Beal, Westbrook, and Ish Smith can play with at times, it's going to be a very good up and down team that's going to get some good up and shots. And I think Westbrook is at a point where he doesn't really care about who's hitting the shot at the end of the game. I think um, his focus is making everybody better. I think you've seen that maturity from him his last season in OKC into his season last year in Houston. Um, he wasn't really hung up on that like he was the previous years, and I like the development of that. I'd like to see him really make a conscious effort to elevate Bradley Beal into that MVP conversation. I think that's his goal here in the Washington Wizards organization, is to elevate Beal to that next level and get the respect that he deserves ultimately. Because Beal is one of the best scorers in the game. Obviously, he putting up 30 points, but he didn't get an All-Star appearance, which is absurd. So if I'm Westbrook, I'm saying, you know what? This is the year. People are going to pay attention. People are going to notice, and they're going to give you the respect that you do. So coming into the season, I think they're going to make a big splash in the regular season. As far as impact goes, they're going to be a team that people are going to want to watch. They're going to be exciting. They're going to be a high powered offensive defensive team, but I think that their ceiling is probably a 6 seed, considering all the teams that are ahead of them. But that's also considering all the teams that are ahead of them. But you don't want to see them in the playoffs. You never want to see a backcourt like Westbrook and Beal in the playoff series. That's not something that you have on your to-do list. And also, you reunite Westbrook with Scott Brooks. That's an underrated factor here. Now Westbrook is back in his comfort zone, so to speak. So, you know, I look forward to watching them in this division. But they're all going to fall short anyways because Miami Heat is where it's at. Heat culture is very real. It's something that, like Avery Bradley is now finding out. It's something that you got to see and experience to believe. I watch, I listen, I read for the past, 17 years just following this organization. So I know what the Heat culture is all about, and I think Avery Bradley fits that to the T. Obviously, it's disappointing that we couldn't hang on to Jay Crowder. Obviously, it's disappointing that we couldn't make a splash and get Giannis to forego on that 5-year max. But, to each his own. I think Miami does have another chip on the shoulder other than losing in the NBA Finals in 6 games to the Lakers, a position that nobody thought they would be in other than me. I'd like to point that out because everybody was riding the Bucks bandwagon and the Celtics bandwagon, and some poor soul in Philadelphia was hoping that the Sixers would make it to the finals. And nobody really paid attention to Miami. Nobody really gave them the respect they deserve. And you look at the playoffs, they sweep Indiana. They give the Bucks all types of hell. They give them they get them out of there in 5 games. You go to the conference finals and Bam, Jimmy, Warren, Tyler. I like to compare him to a um, young Mike Miller as far as scoring ability wise, style of play. But he has a swagger of a young Jason Williams, a young white chocolate. And I just love the way he plays the game. I'm glad that Miami didn't pull the trigger on the James Harden deal because I seriously, I wouldn't have burned a jersey, but I would have been pretty upset. And I would have stayed off social media for quite some time because trolls are not merciful when it comes to Miami. They love to get on my case, especially Roy Forbes. What I will say is this about Miami: they bought into Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler bought into Miami, and that's a match made in heaven. Pat Riley speaks the same language. That tough, gritty, take no prisoners. I'm not here to please anybody. I'm here to do a job and get the job done. And that's exactly what took place last year. Goran, I think Goran's going to be Goran. I don't know if he should be coming off the bench anymore. I think he should be starting, and they should be looking to either bolster their bench or get Kendrick Nunn more comfortable being the off the bench point guard, the scoring option off the bench with Tyler Hero. I like the way this team is formed. You bring in another rookie in Precious. He's like another Bam Adebayo. Exactly the same type of player. The only thing is he can knock down the outside shot. Very high motor player. You add in the intelligence of Andre Iguodala, three-point shooting of Olenek, the defensive prowess of Avery Bradley, toughness, scorer, gritty, fighter, competitor. That is Jimmy Butler is always going to infect his teammates to get them on the right page and take them to that next level that they need to be on to compete each and every night. And I mean, from what we've seen last year, he can elevate them all the way into a championship conversation. So I like what I see from Miami. I mean, that's not always the case, but they're gonna be right there knocking on a door. And that's again, they're not a team you want to see in the playoffs. Even more so because not only do they have the talent to beat a lot of teams, they have the grit and fight to play as if they don't have a chance in the world, and that doesn't bode well for a lot of teams that simply rely on talent more so than heart. I think Duncan Robinson, as lethal as he is, I think he can still increase his talent and skill level, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It's hard and want to get more, but a commitment to moving your feet, staying in front of people. So that's the next step for him. They drafted another Duncan Robinson and Max Strus, a guy that can knock it down from the outside. But if you look at the Miami Heat, yes, they have talent throughout 1 through 10. They can mix and match lineups, but they have guys that don't even play that they're still developing on two-way contracts, on minimum deals, on you know the guys that they just simply picked up to develop over a series of years. I mean, we've seen Duncan Robinson come out of nowhere. Kendrick Nunn came out of nowhere. So I think they're trying to do the same thing with Okpala and Max Strus, and I'm excited about it. I see them winning this division by a landslide. It's not even close. Just playing. I see them winning by a landslide. It's not even close. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Special thanks to Curtis Murphy and Murphy Elite Training for sponsoring this episode. If you want to stay up to date on merchandise or simply update your game, please click the link in the description to stay up to date on all things Murphy Elite Training. Until next time, you know the rules.